Hey, everybody, this is Lisa Harper, and you're listening to the Not Ready Yet Curating Conversations for the Aging Journey podcast. This is the show that changes the conversations we have with our loved ones about aging and life decisions. Let's have more honest conversations where we speak the quiet parts of life out loud. Today, I'm joined by Tara Ballman, Executive Director and Program Director of the National Aging in Place Council. She is also the Aging in Place Business Development Manager at Longbridge Financial. Through her leadership at the National Aging in Place Council, Tara educates and connects older adults and their families with the resources and services that make aging easier. This could be healthcare, housing, finances, transportation, social engagement. She's also an internationally known author of 5 books on retirement finance, and she contributed to NAIPC's first 2 publications, writing the transportation section of Aging in Place Conversations and the Social Security section of the book, Difficult Aging in Place Conversations. Tara's work truly reflects the mission of the National Aging in Place Council, fostering collaboration, education, and advocacy, which are so important, right? That's why we're here. Tara's mission is passionate and personal, and we will have her share that with us. So welcome so much, Tara. I thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really honored to be here as your guest and to share my message and what's happening in the aging in place space with all your listeners.
Yes, and it's so much right now. So tell us a little bit about yourself as far as where does your passion come for aging in place?
Yeah, so actually my background is not related to aging at all. I went to school for music business and was working in that industry, and I got the fateful call one day that my dad had cancer. And it completely changed the whole trajectory of my life and my career and my future goals. So I ended up moving back home, which was Florida, and he had just retired and got into the reverse mortgage industry. He got his mortgage license, he got his real estate license, and that's really what opened up my eyes to accessible housing and financing retirement and alternate options for aging in place. So that was really my goal. It was very wonderful to have that time with my father. He passed away about 14 years ago, but having that extra time with him and being able to work with him and helping other people while we were helping ourselves was really fantastic. So actually, I ended up moving to California before he passed, and my parents moved to the Atlanta area. And right after they moved, he got very sick, and they put him in the hospital. And my mom had no friends. They had lived
Mm.
there maybe 6 months, and she didn't know who to turn to. She didn't know what the local resources were. She was reliant on hospitals and case managers or just word of mouth. And the stress that I saw her under just trying to take care of moving and my father and all of the emotions that go around with losing someone. He was in a coma the last few weeks of his life and ended up passing right after his 62nd birthday, so he was quite young. So that's really the fuel that motivates me, is to help connect other families with the resources that are out there, because a lot of times you don't know what you don't know until you're in that situation. And even then, you don't know where to turn and you're so stressed and it's so emotional. And sometimes you just take the first person that's there to help you, which might not be the best person to help you or your situation. And I really just proactive planning. I know we've talked about this, Lisa. It's a big thing of yours. It's a big thing of mine. Knowing your options now before you're in a crisis situation, even if it's something uncomfortable to talk about, the more you talk about it, the less uncomfortable it's going to be. So that's really my motivation, is to get families the knowledge that they need, older adults, even younger folks. Like right now, the baby boomers are starting to turn 80. My generation, Gen X, we're falling into that 50 and up category. So, I'm right there in the world of aging, and we're all aging, but we want to help people
Yeah.
thrive in place, not just age.
Well, and it usually comes out of my mouth at least once an episode that our country, our society has a thing about anti-aging. And I am hoping to provide a platform that acknowledges we are aging. It's okay. We need to talk about it. We need to have a plan. We are entering a phase of our society that hasn't existed before because people are living so long. and through modern medication and all the technology and everything, it's kind of coming up into this, like, people didn't live this long before. So we're kind of entering a new space, all of us. But I want people to understand, like you say, when baby boomers went to school, when they started in school, the schools weren't ready. The infrastructure wasn't there. They're like, oh my gosh, there's all these kids. And I feel like now we're entering that on the backside. And that's what I want to get out there is like, be the narrator of your story, be in control of what your future you looks like. And I think, part of our generation is we're in between both, and we see all this information that we have available, and we see the changing of technology and how these advances can really help families. We're not asking to make a decision in a moment. Like, these are huge decisions. They may take months or years. And that's why the conversations are so important. So for those out there, what is aging in place? I think people are starting to hear it more, but what does that mean?
Yes. So I think the traditional definition of aging in place, people think, oh, it's the home I've lived in my whole life. And now I'm going to live here and they're going to take me out feet first, is, and I'm going to live and die in this home. But aging in place is really thriving in the community at where you live and the home that's best suited for you. So, the house that I live in now, it's a tri-level house. I'm probably not going to spend my 80s and 90s here because it's just not manageable. But aging in place is really about controlling your future. I know that this won't be my forever home. So, what do I want that to look like? And making a plan where either I need to make some serious adjustments here over the next 30 years or I have to figure out what's right for me. And maybe depending on what happens health-wise, you never know what kind of medical diagnosis is going to come your way. My dad certainly didn't expect to pass away at 62, that's for sure. So, having a plan and having a backup plan in case that plan fails, but also people in assisted living centers, people in memory care, that's aging in place because that's their home. Home is where you lay your head. And so our mission at the National Aging in Place Council is really to help people make that home as safe and secure and financially viable for as long as possible. And when that might not be the safest place, what are the other options that we can move into in a planned way? And sometimes it's not, sometimes you are going to be in a crisis situation. We can't always plan for all of the unexpected.
Yeah.
But even then, knowing what your options are.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think
and I
it's
think
more
it's
just giving a voice to the fact that we are aging and to have that, like you say, this is plan A, and then something happens, and then you're like, okay, we need to reconvene and figure that out. It's like we are rewriting how to age right now, is how I see it. Are there categories that people should be thinking about?
Sure. Yeah. So, just a little bit of background on the organization. We're a nonprofit trade association, and we're really focused on education, collaboration, and advocacy. So, we have about 450 members across the country, and we represent 85 different service sectors within the Aging in Place umbrella. So, our organization and all of our members really fall into one of five categories of what we consider the five pillars of aging, and that's housing, healthcare, finance, transportation, and social engagement. And we really encourage people to look at all five of those areas because it's like a chair. If one of those legs are missing, you're going to be a little wonky and you might not be as stable as if you had addressed all five. A lot of people forget the social aspect of aging in place, but that's a huge part of staying active in your community and in your life. And I can't remember the name of the book. You might know this. It equated smoking 16 cigarettes a day, the effects it has on your body is the same effects as social isolation. But a
Yeah.
lot of people think, "Oh, well, I put my mom in this assisted living facility. She's got hot meals, she's got bingo, she's got this and that, but then she never leaves her room." And so, maybe that in that case, the social side of things need to be more addressed than necessarily the healthcare or the housing side.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, and those are like the buckets of life, right? And it's like how high are you filling them? Are they empty? And not only that, but as far as planning for. So those are the 5 pillars to plan for, to be thinking about, I call it the future you. If we, because I say not everybody gets to have a future you. We lose people suddenly every day. If you have them here, like that is a gift and treat it as such. And so, to have those conversations and to look at those different ways of what does this path look like aging and housing. The topic of transportation comes up. You wrote that section in one of the books. And what could you tell people about specifically transportation?
Yeah, I would love to talk about transportation, but just to kind of go back on your last point for a second, I think we're all dreading, or as a society, we dread aging, but aging is a privilege. We should be excited about having these experiences in life because other people don't. And that's the way I always look at it, is that I am so privileged to be here today because friends that I had aren't here today. And let's live the best lives that we can while we can, including transportation, which is a big part of keeping that social aspect active. A lot of older adults are terrified about somebody, quote unquote, taking away the keys from them, losing their independence. But there are so many options out there, that if you start talking about it now and planning now and looking at the resources that are within your area, there are so many options. So even just thinking about, your senior centers or the area agency on aging or other nonprofits like here in Orange County, California, the Jewish Foundation, they provide free transportation, whether you're Jewish or not. You can reach out to them and they will assist you. There's also through our transit authority, OCTA, they actually have very specific training for older adults that teaches them, if you've never ridden a bus before, or maybe you have, but here's the bus system. Here's how you figure out the ramps. You need to go to the doctor. Here's the time you need to get on the bus. Here's where you get off. Do you have medical equipment? Here's how you can get it on and off the bus safely. And they do these trainings regularly. And at the end of the trainings, they actually give you free bus passes. So you
Oh.
can test out the routes before you actually need that, which I love. And I'm sure there are other areas of the country that do something similar to that as well.
And
Um,
that's what I was thinking is like when you're looking locally, how does the National Aging in Place Council assist with people in their local region?
Yeah, so if you go to our website, ageinplace.org, you can find a directory, and that lists all of the members within that area. And even if you don't see someone in your area with the specific need that you have, just send us an email, reach out through the website, because our network of members, it's vast. It's very vast. So we will be able to find someone to help, whether it's transportation or any need. We have a need summary that people can fill out, and then we'll connect you with someone that can best help you with that resource that's needed. But we have a member in San Francisco who is a transportation specialist. And she actually, so, it's such a hard conversation. Maybe you see some dings on your parents' car, or, they've got a ticket for running a red light and you're just not sure that it's safe for them to drive anymore. But they say it's safe to drive. And of course, I think I'm a safe driver, and my husband white knuckles it every time he's in the car with me. So that her organization actually goes along with an older adult, like the old driving school, the dual handles in the car, but they hook up things somehow to the brain. And it's showing how quickly you're responding to things. So when you're having this conversation like, mom, it might not be safe for you to drive anymore, it's not you as an adult child saying this information. It is science backed, showing, okay, here's where you were 6 months ago, here's where you are today. Maybe it's time that we start looking at some other options, because it's not safe for the people around you. You can, you think you can keep driving, but you don't want to end up killing someone. And it's backed by
Wow.
science.
That is fascinating to know that that exists. And I know you stated in the beginning that there's 85 kind of service providers that are involved in the aging in place movement. And so transportation is one of the pillars. So how is technology affecting just everything we're talking about, I'm sure, and all the pillars, there's some form of technology affecting each.
Yes, and I think this is such an exciting place to be right now for our industry. I mean, aging isn't considered sexy, but this is like a really exciting spot for all of us. We're living in a Jetsons world. We just don't know it yet because it's not actually Rosie the robot running around doing things, but there's a vast array of products out there, mostly related to housing, or the things that I like to talk about. So a lot of folks are distance caregivers. Like my mom's in Atlanta. I'm in California. She's 75. She's very active and healthy, but I worry about her because she lives in the middle of the country. She lives in the woods. She felt no one would hear her yell for help. But she's not at a point where I need to put in a camera at her house or have some kind of detection system. So I found a product that I can actually put on her back door because she has two dogs. And I know every morning those dogs are going to wake her up to go outside. And every night those dogs are going to need to go out before bed. And if I don't see her back door open and close every morning and every night, I know something is wrong. So that's a way for me to keep track without her losing her dignity or independence or feel like I'm spying on her. And then I can have someone come check on her. So they have everything from very, independent products like that to cameras, but the cameras aren't necessarily sending a visual image anymore. Some of them use radar from the airports, that sense the different levels of airplanes. They can sense where the person is in the room. Are they standing? Are they sitting? And it's AI driven. So over time, they know, okay, this is what it looks like when my mom is tying her shoe. This is what it looks like when she's playing with her dogs or petting her dog or laying on the floor with grandkids, to know the difference between a fall and her regular life. And then if she does fall, did she take a hard fall and we need to call someone, or was it a light tumble and someone just needs to check up on her to make sure nothing's hurt? And some of these sensors can read your heart rate, your blood pressure, your oxygen levels. It is just amazing what's happening in the H-tech space. And it's actually fairly affordable because you think about the cost of home care. And depending on what area you're in, it could be tens of thousands of dollars a month. And that is certainly not something the majority of us have put into our retirement plan. And that really can suck you, those
Yeah.
unexpected expenses. So this is a way where you can get caregiving without having to pay. Maybe you can only afford 4 hours a day, while the other parts of the day, there's still someone watching out for your loved one. And the same, I love smart toilets. My husband always makes fun of me because I talk about these smart toilets all the time. But there again, there's new toilets that can analyze everything you flush. So not being worried about, oh, did my mom take her medication today? You can tell if she did based on the analysis of the toilet, or if they have diabetes, their blood sugar levels. It's just fascinating to me. And I think age tech and AI is really going to help with this caregiver shortage that we're having, with the whole hospital at home movement that's happening. The hospital at home, for those of you who aren't familiar, it's instead of putting an older adult in the hospital, they stay in their home and the care team comes to them. And everyone prefers it. The older adult would rather be home than in the hospital, right? Who wouldn't? And then it's really a patient centric care team that is helping people in their homes. And I just think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, and you've gotta think that the research would show with that kind of service being provided at the home, their even, the time to recover or their response to certain things when you're at home.
And you
Yeah.
can cook the food that you want, or you can have a chef, or, those home delivered meals come in instead of being forced to eat whatever the hospital happens to serve you that day. So
Yeah.
there's just so many benefits.
And I know when we're talking about age and places, I know falls are that's the thing when we say something sudden happens, there could be a health diagnosis, but if it's like the fall changes the trajectory, in so many instances. And so, things that can help understand your balance and you are now a fall risk, to know that ahead of time. before the fall, right? How do we that's the preventive part.
Yeah, yeah, and there are a lot of ways people can be proactive related to their homes and falls, and some of it is just you don't have to have fancy AI tech. It can be just as simple as having an occupational therapist or a certified aging in place specialist come into your house and do a home assessment. I mean, think about your own home when you get out of your car. Is your driveway sloped? Is there an awning? Do you have to walk upstairs? Do you have handrails? Is there a threshold that you have to cross over into your home? And that's, or is the lighting appropriate? And that's just before you even get into your home. So having a specialist come and help you determine what those needs are, maybe not now, but in the future, it can go a long way to proactive planning. And I know a lot of people put off those kind of assessments because they don't want their home to look like a medical facility. They don't want those ugly grab bars in their bathrooms. But I think if you take the time to educate yourself on what's out there in the market, you will see that there are architectural digest worthy grab bars that no one will know is a grab bar in bathrooms that look like beautiful decoration, and really doing those things and adjusting your home to more of a universal design um, increases the value of your home, which I know, Lisa, you know as well, because you have your CAP certification. So, um,
I was gonna say the CAP certification, and I think lighting is one of those that you don't have to inject a whole bunch of money. It is just making task lighting and lighting more accessible, or the lights that come on when you enter a room and you don't even have to worry about locating a switch, or, and I know so many people still have the old lamps and you have to walk over. And as you walk over in the dark, are you walking through it? Is there a threshold? Is there a rug? Is there a coffee table with a very hard corner? Lighting is one of the most minimalistic things that you can do to change that'll make the biggest impact. So yeah,
sometimes it's just changing a light bulb from a white light to a warm light, or vice versa, whatever the needs are. Some of these are very simple changes.
very simple, and I love the auto ones that just come on. They know the door's opening and boom, there's a light. 'Cause, you
Well,
could be holding stuff, and anytime where your arms are wrapped up in something and you're carrying something, those are spaces that you should not have to worry about turning on a light.
right.
And so I do think we're on this exciting bridge in between what people used to think of aging and what people will know as aging in the future. We're in between.
Yeah, I agree. And we really have to change our mindsets as a society about it. And I think seeing people like Pamela Anderson, who's no longer wearing makeup and embracing her age, I think that it's going to take that and more people like that for us to say, okay, this isn't so bad. I'm living my best life now, not in my 20s. And just, we have to be really careful too about the phrases we use. I don't like the phrase silver tsunami. Tsunami is such a scary word. I would rather be positive about it because, again, we're very privileged to be living in this stage of our lives.
I agree. I'm not a like, whatever the dramatic titles, and I don't like that. I want things that are approachable and digestible for people because that's what they're going to hold on to. And I want, adult kids listening to go, gosh, I've heard my parents say I'm not ready yet like 5 times, and there's been a couple moments where I've been scared that something was happening. It's like these are the moments to be to take action, and that's why I started by saying we have to get to the point where we can speak these quiet parts out loud because you're having the thoughts. You're having the thoughts, something happened, you couldn't get a hold of mom, and, like you say, we're so distanced now. The you used the phrase earlier, distance caregiver. And I don't think I've heard it phrased that way before, and I think that that is a beautiful way to say it because we are not living in the same cities anymore, and to have that which adds another layer of anxiety of what's going on with them. Um, I think the distance caregiver did you come up with that phrase?
I did not. No, I wish I had, though, the way you're talking about it. I'm like, yeah, that was mine.
No, I haven't heard anybody say it that way, and I was like, "That is such a beautiful way to say," because the anxiety that comes by the not knowing, and then you're getting these calls, and we're not sure what to do, bring that to voice. bring that to voice. Say, "Hey, I heard this conversation. Did you even know there's a National Aging in Place Council? Let's see if there's one in our area." And so let's talk about that. Where are they in the country? What's people's first step? Are there local chapters everywhere?
They are not everywhere. We're in 20 specific markets. We actually are about to expand into 20 more. But even if there's not a chapter in your area, we might still have a member or two that can help, or someone in our network that can help. And again, if you go on our website, ageandplace.org, we have a 26-page checklist that anyone can download. And it's really just questions to walk you through those 5 pillars of aging. And maybe it's something that you do, you go over a question once every time you get together for dinner, or maybe when the family's there for Thanksgiving, you go over the whole housing section so that all the family can be on the same page. And it's not all encompassing, but it does give you some questions where you can start to figure out, are we on the right path? Are there any areas lacking? Where do we find the resources to help support this? So you can download that on ageandplace.org. We also have a lot of blog posts. If you're on Facebook, we have a lot of educational presentations that are there. So there's a lot of different resources. And again, that needs summary. If there's something very specific you're looking for, send us a message and we'll make sure to connect you with someone that can assist.
Yeah. And we touched upon the the books very briefly in the beginning of the introduction. What what was the catalyst for that? What brought the books to life for the National Aging in Place Council?
So this is something that our members got together because as professionals, we hear both sides of the conversation from the older adults and the adult children. So, in one of our books, we talk about using a walker. So, in this specific example, the older adult had taken some falls, needed to use a walker, but was refusing to. And from her side of it, it's like, now my family wants to spy on me. They want me to force me to use this equipment. It's going to make me look old. I'm too embarrassed to use it. I'm not using it. And then on the flip side, it was the adult children saying, "Okay, my mom's not using this. She's taking falls. She's going to hurt herself. It could be dangerous in the future. How do we force her to use this?" So we're trying to, it was a way to help navigate the conversation to find the happy medium in the two where, it's not so black and white. It's not so yes and no. There are ways that the families can work together through conversation and discussion to find a method that gives both people peace of mind. So, I mean, that's just one question in the book. We talk about Social Security, we talk about driving, we talk about Medicare insurance, just the thought of trying to figure out, am I in the best plan as you're becoming of age for Medicare? And then every year having to renew or look at all the options. I mean, that can be overwhelming just in itself. And that's one little piece of the whole puzzle on aging in place. So we're really trying to take the most difficult and awkward conversations and give people a way to discuss them.
Yeah, the overwhelm in all of this because it's you almost feel like you have to be an expert, but you can't be. And so then how do you find the expert that you trust? There's something special that people should know about the members that are part of NAIPC. You can Google anyone and somebody's paid an ad, or you never know people's intentions. The people that you allow through membership, what's special about that?
Yes, so all of our members are background checked. When they apply, we require them to submit a background check, and then every 3 years they have to do the same. Again, we're a education-driven organization, so people aren't there for networking or to receive referrals. They're there purely to educate the community on the resources that are out there. And it's not just necessarily their one pillar that they're educating on. They're very well versed in all 5 pillars of aging. And I will say that probably 90% of our members have come into this world because of personal experiences of dealing with their own loved ones. And now they want to help others who are in that situation not experience the same kind of hurt.
Yeah. And I know of the 5 pillars, the last one would be the financial pillar. I know That's a hard topic for a lot of families, right? People are very closed off sometimes when it comes to talking finances. What we're talking about is just getting conversations started. So as far as finances, what are your best practices there?
Yeah, sometimes it's easier to get a third party involved in those discussions because a lot of times older adults feel like, well, this is my money and you can't tell me what to do. You can't take over my account. You can't put your name on it. And then something happens. I mean, the fraud in the older adult marketplace right now is just overwhelming. And there's an area where AI is making it more dangerous because people are impersonating grandkids or they think they owe somebody money and it has to be done right now, and there's this crazy urgency behind paying bills. So there's a lot of in between professionals who can help support people having those conversations. It might be a financial planner, it might be a fiduciary, it might be a counselor. There's a lot of counselors, financial counselors that are for free that you can find in senior centers and area agency on aging and other nonprofits. So there's a lot out there, but I would really encourage people to be on their own journey when it comes to financial advice and make sure it's a professional, especially when it comes to Social Security. That was in one of the books I wrote, the Social Security section. And I've been in this world in the senior space for a long time. And I learned so much. There were so many misconceptions that I had about Social Security. And so just not saying, oh, well, Susie down the street took hers when she was 62. So she said that was the best option. I'm going to do the same. Well, maybe that was the best option for her. Maybe it's not the best option for you. And I don't think that people realize sometimes just waiting 1 month to claim it, depending on your age, could save you thousands of dollars over the course of your lifetime. And it just or 1 week. There are these charts that you really need to have someone who knows what they're doing look at. And there's a lot of great organizations out there that are nonprofits that really help people with just the Social Security aspect of it. Because in some cases, that's the majority of their income. And so let's make sure that that income that you're receiving is maximized.
Yeah. Yeah. With our modern day that we're talking about, unfortunately, the scams and the aging population, the fixed income, they're not out there working to recoup anything that's lost, and that is the hard part of having the finance conversation. I'm sure you hear it a lot, "I don't wanna run out of finance. I don't wanna run out of money. I don't wanna do this yet because I don't know how long I'll need it." So that is the big unknown, and so to be prepared and have more information, like you say, these resources, the ones that are on the website are vetted, there's background checks going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anyone needs help, we are happy to help.
And so is there anything else? I know we're kind of wrapping up on, I think we've touched on the pillars and there's so much more behind it and it's so specific to what's going on in your family's world and the need. But first off, we want you to know that there's resources and people out there to help. And this is I will call it a safe place to go. Is there anything else that you want our listeners to know? I know there's some updated books or some new books coming out. Is that correct?
There is. So our first 2 books are available on Amazon.com. We're releasing another one in 2 weeks, Aging in Place Conversations, the Caregivers Edition. So
Oh,
perfect
yeah.
for perhaps some in your audience. So that's coming out October 14th. It'll be available on Amazon, but if you'd like to receive that at a special discounted rate, please reach out to me through the website ageinplace.org, and I will be happy to get you a copy of that. But I would just like to say, in closing, that I think none of us are born with a manual on how to take care of kids, and no family has a manual on what's a perfect way to take care of an aging loved one. So, really give yourself grace. I know we beat ourselves up. When my grandmother died, my mom was really upset with a lot of the things that she did, but she did the best that she could. And that's what we're all doing. As long as we're doing the best that we can and our loved ones know that they're loved, just give yourself grace because everyone's journey is different. So just keep that in mind and plan as proactively as you can to address anything that might pop up.
Yeah. And if you need help with conversation starters, the books that the National Aging in Place Council has put out have numerous ways to get conversations going, and know that those conversations are a process. They're not a yes or no. When you have one conversation, there could be one certain set of circumstances going on, and then months pass and then something else is introduced. So again, have grace with yourself and the process. And again, if you have a parent that is here to still have these conversations, consider that a gift. I hope people do. The sandwich generation, especially. And I know a lot of times we go in thinking we have the answer, we know the quickest way to get from A to B. That's not what this is about. This is their decision. It's about facilitating, asking questions, being a part of it, being invited into it, maybe. But I know as adult kids, we want to solve things, and this isn't the place to solve things. This is the place to participate in your parents' lives as they age. And so there's tools out there, there's resources out there. And now, hopefully, if you hadn't heard of the National Aging in Place Council, now you have, and you can reach out to them. And Tara, I can say with my whole heart how much I know these people are passionate and care. And I'm very proud to be a member myself. And again, it's about education, advocacy, and I get behind anything that has to do with that with our aging loved ones. So, Tara, thank you so much for being here today, taking time out. I so appreciate everything you've shared, and there'll be notes in the show note for how to get a hold of Tara, and a link directly to the National Aging in Place Council website. And I thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining me on Not Ready Yet, Curating Conversations for the Aging Journey. If something in this episode gave you clarity or the courage to start an important conversation, or offered a new way to look at things, I hope you'll share it with someone who might need the same encouragement. Remember, navigating aging isn't something we have to do alone or in crisis. With love, logic, and the right tools, we can face what's next with confidence and connection. Be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave a review. It helps others find the show. And just a quick note, the information shared on this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for medical, psychiatric, legal, or other professional advice. Always consult a qualified professional for guidance tailored to your unique situation. This is Lisa Harper, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.